That movie is a shit show. What you think you see, what you think you hear, that's what it's about. It's all the theater of the mind. No, it's garbage. It's garbage. Mood and atmosphere. Now that I really like. That's what I'm looking for. That's what I want to see.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? What's happening? It is Tuesday. It's Tuesday, October the 19th, 2021, 12:07 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. My name is Dave McRae, coming to you live from the VoiceMann Studios in Toronto, Canada. And I want to give you my top kills in Halloween Kills. Halloween Kills has been out now for, well, I guess just a few days, 4 or 5 days now. Have you seen it? Did you like it? Did you not like it? It's proving to be quite divisive, or divisive, however you want to say it. I actually think divisive is the correct way, if memory serves. But yeah, and you know, there's videos on my channel where I've been talking about how I feel about it, how I've been torn, and how I recognize some of the problems, but there's good, you know, there's good there. There's things that I like. It's primarily to do with, you know, the way Myers looks and the way Myers is shot and all that kind of stuff, and you know, the flashback and all that. That stuff is on my channel. You can go and you can watch that and you know, figure out all that. I'm going to do my best not to, you know, dive into, because it's easy to do for me. It's easy to do, to dive into like, hey, you really like. So today what I want to do is I want to talk about, I'm going to give you my top 5. My top 5. Maybe there'll be an honorable mention in there. I don't know. I haven't really thought about it. Maybe it'll come to me as I'm going through this. Top 5 kills in kills. The top 5 kills in kills, ladies and gentlemen. And I want you in the comment section below to give me your top 5 kills in kills. Hell, if you're watching me live right now, put your top 5 kills in the comments, or sorry, in the chat room. Give me your top 5 kills in kills. So, what are my top 5 kills? Maybe these will surprise you. Now, this, some of these are the kill themselves, and some of them is just like everything that surrounds it as well, because you have to do that, right? And that's what I've done here. So I'm going to start with my number 5. Let's jump right into it and start with my number. I was trying to think in Spanish. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Cinco. Let's start with cinco. And in French, it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Cinq. I had to go back into my French. I'm not, although, yes, I am Canadian, but I can't speak French.
What? I thought all Canadians could speak French and they live in igloos.
Well, they all do, but not me. No. Okay, my number 5, folks. My number 5. Are you ready? Are you ready for McRae's top 5 kills in kills? We can have some fun. With this. Here we go. It's the Firefighters. Whoa, what? Some of you out there might be thinking 5, like, so that's like last? No, it's not last. I'm just, listen, if I did a top 10, it would be, but, you know, depending on how you look at it, you might be able to put, for me, it's number 5, but it has probably one of the coolest, if we're talking about moments, well, the firefighter shit's gonna be like, you know, it's gonna be that. But if you're talking about kills, you know, I mean, he comes out, like, see, a moment would be like, you know, when he comes out, right? And the firefighters are getting their shit together and they're like, who the fuck is this? And you just, it's like coming out from the back and the, you know, the fucking water and the fire and shit. And he's like, comes out, he just stands there and it's like fucking great. It's a great moment. One of the best moments in that film, for sure. Maybe even in the franchise. Who knows? But in terms of the kills, yeah, they're I mean, take my hand, take my. Yeah, it's great. It's great shit. It's great stuff. It's great. It's great. I like it. It's number 5. It's great. It's great stuff. Number 4 for me, number 4. Are you ready for number 4, ladies and gentlemen? Number 4 is the girl with the gun. The girl with the gun's number 4. The girl that shoots herself in the face because he kicks the door and he's sitting there. She's like, and where the hell did she go? I've talked about this in my previous videos, but where did she go? Like, I mean, where was she? I have no idea where she was. You know, I mean, her husband is being murdered. Marion is being murdered. She gets out of the car. And it's like she's got to go take a piss behind the bushes for, 38 seconds. And then all of a sudden she comes back and she's like, I guess she feels better because her bladder has been released. Maybe she even had to go number 2. I don't know. Like, sometimes when you go to the wash, you feel much better. You feel a little lighter. Maybe she needed to. Maybe she needed to feel lighter. I don't know. I'm just saying. Hey, don't shoot the messenger, man. Don't shoot the messenger. You know as well as I do she fucked off for a minute and a half and nobody knew where the hell she was. What was she doing? She wasn't lying there. I mean, did she go around the corner to the bushes and had to go to the washroom? I'm just saying it's not out of the realm of possibility that she may have had to go and urinate or go to the washroom or something. I'm just saying, don't shoot the messenger, man. Don't shoot the messenger. It's not like it didn't happen. You know what happened. I'm just bringing it from your unconscious mind to your conscious mind and making you look at it, and it's uncomfortable for you. You're like, oh my God, he might be right. He might be right. I might be right. I'm just saying I might be right. She may have been off in the corner by the bushes doing 1 or 2. I'd say don't shoot the messenger. But you know what? It's a fun. It's a little cheesy, but it's kind of fun. It's kind of fun. And depending on the day, I might put that 5th and put the Firefighters 4th. But for whatever reason, like keep that in mind. Maybe the Firefighters should be 4 on here for me. But when I was doing the list this morning, I was like, for whatever reason, I put it 4th. I don't know. Maybe it's it's everything that surrounds it that makes it kind of funny and fun. Where it's kind of like, where did she go? Like maybe there's that aspect to it as well. Anyway, ask me again tomorrow and maybe it'll be in the 5th spot. My number 3, going back to that scene, actually, my number 3 is actually the knife to the eye of her husband. I remember when I was sitting in the theater watching that, and I remember thinking to myself, it felt like a Friday the 13th kill, but not in a bad way. I mean, if you're going to deliver a movie called Halloween Kills and you got to get the kills in there, I mean, you would expect something. I remember kind of laughing, but not in a bad way. Just, it felt it was the way he kind of turned and looked and then went like this. And then the guy's like, and because the prosthetic is on, right, and he can go like this with his eye and look the other way. Now, both eyes are probably looking the other way, but because he's got the prosthetic there, it only looks like there's one eye looking the other way, and it kind of looked cool, you know what I mean? And he's kind of falling back. It was like a Friday the 13th kill, but in a very good way. It was kind of like, oh, that's I don't know. It's something you'd see in a Friday the 13th. I actually kind of liked it. I thought that was that was kind of fun. And where his wife was, I don't know. Again, maybe she's out. I don't know what she was doing. I don't know. You know what I would have loved to have seen in that though? I would have loved to have seen her be the last one. Right? She falls out of the car. She's crawling on the ground. And Michael gets out of the car and he stands up, right? And there's that, and she's like crawling, and then she gets up and she starts running, and you get another stalking thing. And then and maybe she's trying to run away, and you see it kind of coming down the street. Boom. Like fuck, we needed more of that. We need more of that. The Lindsay stuff was good. I mean, that's probably the most suspenseful stuff in the movie. I made a tweet when I first saw the film, and I said that, I appreciated that the movie, pleased a purist like me by switching the tone up a bit for more mood and atmosphere. And I think some people meant again, it's not surprising. Some people took that to mean that I thought this movie was just rich and full of mood and atmosphere and suspense over 18. That's not what I meant. I meant that because the tone had shifted in terms of the lighting and the bit of the style, what suspense they gave us in Kills felt more noticeable to me. I liked, like, it's a combination, right? It's ingredients, and it's not that there was no suspense in 18. There was. Like, I usually say largely void, because it is largely void. But of course, there are some nice moments of suspense too. The motion sensor lights is one, right? But it's just the way they lit this film. It was much more in line with how you want a Halloween film to be lit. And then you add a bit of suspense in there, and it starts to fire on more cylinders for me. So that's kind of what I meant by that. But of course, people... Anyway. Turn that into a GIF. There you go. So the eye thing, but yeah, the stuff that would have been cool. That would have been cool. Anyways, I digress. Number 3 is the eye into her husband there. Number 2 for me. So we're down to my number 2 and my number 1. 2 and my number 1. Okay, here we go. My number 2 for me is Cameron's death. You're thinking to yourself, what? That's not number 1, Scooby-Doo. No, Scoob. No, Scoob. It's not number 1, Scoob. It's not number 1. It is number 2 for me. But it is great. I mean, in terms of just pure, that whole sequence is, like, I actually talked about this in the previous videos. I really do appreciate that whole sequence in terms of being at the Myers house. There's a little bit of suspense there, right? You add the way it looks, the way it's lit, when Cameron's walking down the hall with the gun and the blood starts to drip and he looks up like this. It doesn't last very long. Again, the suspense is a spectrum, right? You can have suspense and tension that you can literally fucking cut with a knife, okay? And it lasts like, 3 minutes or something, right? I know this is a little kind of, maybe this is a bit, shameless plug and flexing my own muscles here. So I acknowledge how this may look to some people, but you take the film that I did, It's Me, Billy, right? And some of the moments of suspense we had in there, some of the compliments we got from people have said, wow, like that moment with Justine and that moment when you're coming up, like that was really suspenseful. It was really like the tension that was very thick. And it's because we drew it out, right? We drew it out. We led you this way and making you think this was going to happen, but then we pulled you over here and all that kind of stuff, right? So that was very nice to hear, because that was our intention. We hoped you felt that way. So suspense and tension is a spectrum, and you can certainly have it kind of like how we had it. We're really drawing you out and making you go, holy fuck, and oh my God, this is very, and then you can have like little moments and pockets, and Halloween Kills and 18 have those pockets, right? So the moment with Cameron, when he's up there, there's a pocket there. It's very small. It doesn't last very long, but there's a pocket where there's some just kind of like, and the way it's lit and everything, I'm like, oh, I kind of like this, like I'm feeling this a little more, because it's got more of the ingredients that I like as a gatekeeper of the original, right? But now when you get to his actual death and he's shoved up against the wall and there's like stabbing going on, he's like, and he's like, and then Allison comes up, tries to shoot him, and it's like, and she's like, and there's it comes down the stairs, and then Cameron's like, Allison, Cameron. I think somebody needs to, maybe I'll do it. I think somebody needs to take that and just loop it so it makes it look like it's lasting a very long time, like a really uncomfortable long time. It's so uncomfortable. Maybe something like that. It turns into like this beatboxing thing. something like that. But anyway, that his actual death is fun. It's his death. The death is fun, right? And then of course there's the icing on the cake. Where he comes down the stairs and he looks to Cameron, and Cameron's like, and she's like, no. And I'm thinking to myself, well, why doesn't she at least, I know her leg is hurt and I know it's hurt, but you think she would have at least, like if that was my girlfriend who I've been together with for 10 years now. All right. And if that was my lady, if that was my partner, right? If that was the love of my life, although then again, maybe that's, I'm thinking of this really too difficult. Maybe she doesn't, these are, I mean, I don't know how old Andy Matichuk is, but obviously their characters are supposed to be teenagers. So I'm probably thinking way too deep into this. She didn't help him. She didn't try. And she just screamed because she doesn't like him. You cheated on me. You deserve to die. Cameron dies tonight. Cameron dies tonight. Cameron dies tonight. That's what this is about. And he did. So Cameron, I'm telling you, it's fucking funny shit. But it's good. All in the good ways. All in the good ways that I absolutely adore and love. And love. Okay. Moving on from the beatboxing of Cameron's death. Number one. My number one favorite kill. And you know what, folks? This list could change. Maybe this list will change. My number one is the, are you ready? My number one is the, I don't know what their names were, but the interracial older couple, right? And that actually doesn't happen. I thought that kill, because it's the first kill outside of the firefighters, I thought that kill happened early. It's like half an hour into the movie, but anyway, I'm not going to get into that. That is my number one. That's my number one, because it's everything that sort of encompasses that, right? There's a little bit of suspense there. Again, there's a pocket, right? There's a pocket of suspense, not cut it with a knife. Holy shit. Holy shit, this tension is thick. No, not at all. But there's a little bit there when the drone gets knocked down and they're kind of like, what? The guy's like, stay here. What's going on, right? There's a little bit of tension. I remember going, okay, I kind of like this. It's a little bit, And of course, shit hits the fan. And just the way that he is, very much like Cameron, but maybe not to the same. Michael just smashes his hand through the window and pulls and then all this shit, and then of course he takes the fluorescent bulb, and it's just like into the neck, and she's like, it's like, yeah. And then there's that shot, low angle shot, looking up at him. And as he's doing it and he's turning and he's kind of like tilting his head a little bit, it's like, oh, I like that. But the icing on the cake for this, and this actually was probably, I'll be honest with you, I've said that the biggest moment of tension in the movie, and it's not like there's a lot of it, but the biggest moment of tension in the movie, and something that I quite liked, was the chase scene, if you want to call it a chase scene, with Lindsay. And that was a moment because they allowed that moment to breathe. They didn't cut away from it too quickly. You really sort of just kind of milked it a bit. I actually would have liked to have seen that scene last longer. I was disappointed when he gave up and he walked across the bridge and then just cut back to the hospital. I was like, oh, damn it. I wish this would have gone on a little bit longer. Not an enormously annoying amount of time, but just a bit longer. Maybe even another minute, or maybe even 2 minutes or something. Just something where you could have her try to escape. Maybe she goes under the bridge or something, and maybe he's standing on the bridge, and he thinks he hears her, and he's looking around, and you can see his reflection in the water below, which you do see, but they kind of milk that a bit more, and she's under the bridge, and she's looking up, and you can kind of see his feet through the cracks a little bit, and she's doing this, and it's just like, and maybe he's, and then maybe she thinks he's gone or whatever. You hear his boots like glung, 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 and just the water. And she's like, whatever. But then his hand comes down or whatever, like something like that. And now she still survives, but some sort of little bit of confrontation or something. I don't know. Just milk this that moment a bit more. But anyway, but what they did give us was probably some of the best. That moment with Lindsay was probably one of the most tense moments in the movie. And that's not saying a whole lot if you look at the movie as a whole. But I will say that this moment that I'm talking about, my favorite kill, or kills, I guess I should say, the kills were brutal. The kill of the old man was great. The kill of the woman was great. And then the icing on the cake is sitting her, it's like putting her in a spot where she can see Michael, she can see him taking knives out and stabbing the flesh of her dead husband. And because she's not dead yet, she's dying, but she's not dead yet. So her last, this was actually a moment in the movie where it wasn't just tense. It was the psychological it was the psychological aspect of that, of being there and watching, you're dying, and your last memory is watching Michael Myers stab the fuck out of your loved one, out of your husband, out of the love of your life, let's say, right? And that's what you die seeing. I remember when I was, again, watching this for the first time in the theater, I remember thinking, wow, this is really sad. Like, there's a sadness to this moment. I felt that. I didn't feel any of that through any of the rest of the movie, but I felt that at that moment. And it was that moment I remember thinking, wow, are they going to do this for the rest of the movie? I actually hope they do, because then, shit just got real, right? And there's a different layer there. Of course, it didn't. It got a little more campy, got a lot more campy. But certainly that, I think, it's everything that encompasses this scene. You know what I mean? It's not just the kill in and of itself. It's everything, and how I felt when I was watching it, and how it made me feel on an emotional and psychological level. And so I really appreciated that effort. And of course, when you think about the layers of the shape and the character as well, and how he's stabbing multiple knives into the back as if he's testing them out, as if he's testing which one pierces flesh better than the other, and there's that moment. And it's one shot too, actually, I believe. We see her kind of fall to the ground or fall into the table or whatever. And then it doesn't cut. The camera just sort of, pans over. We don't rack focus. So their first AD doesn't pull focus to Myers. We stay sort of in focus in the foreground on her shoulder, as if we are, now it's not a POV shot. We're not looking through her eyes, but it's as if he's just murdered us as well. And we're kind of leaning in with her, and we're sitting there with her dying, watching, our dad or our friend or our brother or whoever get stabbed in the back. Watch it again. They don't pull focus. The first AD doesn't pull focus. It's out of focus. It's blurry, and it remains that way through the whole thing that he's doing. They could have easily have pulled focus to make him in focus and see it more clearly, but they didn't do that. And that, to me, I took that. Again, I mean, I don't know what the intention was there, but certainly if I was directing this scene, if I had written this scene, that would have been my thought process as I was writing and directing the scene. For me, this is, let's not pull focus. Let's keep it here. We could have easily have been through her eyes. Let's not do that. Let's set the camera here so we can still see her in the frame. So it acts as if it's another body there. And you are dying as well watching this happen. And it was great. I thoroughly enjoyed that. I loved that a lot. It sounds very sick, but I think you know what I mean, right? And then the way, of course, he's stabbing, and the way he pulls back, and he kind of looks as if he's examining it, which he totally is. I mean, there's no other interpretation for it, right? It's like the head tilt thing, right? He goes like this, and then he gets another one, and he goes like this, then he pulls back, and he kind of goes like this a bit. He's looking at it like, Like, it's almost as if there's a, yeah, it's okay. That might work. Hang on a sec. I don't know. Let me try another one. And it's just like, oh, this is creepy as fuck. And we've never seen, it's in line with his MO. It's something that you would expect Michael Myers to do, even though we haven't seen this happen before. It's his behavior is totally in line with what you would expect him to do. And so again, that's another plus for me. I sat there and I thought, oh, this is, wow. That's fucking creepy shit. Like, he's testing shit out. You know, now again, is he testing it out? If you were to speak to David Gordon Green and Danny McBride, they may say, oh yeah, I can see how you would think that, but no, in our mind, this is what he was doing. And then you're like, oh, I didn't quite get that, but okay, yeah, I guess I could see that. Only the writers and the director can tell you what the intention of that was. No matter what your interpretation is, they would have the answer. So, and maybe it is that. Maybe it's exactly how I am interpreting it, exactly how you've interpreted it, because I'm not the only one that has interpreted it that way. But that for me definitely was the best kill of the movie because of everything that surrounds it. So you got two great kills, blood, guts, and gore. Okay, if you like that shit, right? So you get that, and you get the psychological aspect of it. The sadness of laying there with her, watching him test out knives, piercing the flesh of this already dead man. And then he finally finds one he likes and he just walks off like it's just another Tuesday. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if it's Tuesday, but you know what I'm saying, right? Like, it's just another day. Like, it's no big fucking deal, you know? And it's great because there's the psychologicalness of it, the psychological aspect of it, I should say. And of course, it is Myers' MO. It's what he would do. And so that's why it's my number one. That's why it is my number one. So folks, if you're watching this after the fact, comment below and let me know your top 5. I know you might want to get crazy and go, oh, but I have so many. Yeah, but challenge yourself. Challenge yourself and say, you know what? I'm going to give my top 5 kills in Halloween Kills in the comment section below. Do that and make sure, am I, hang on a sec here. No, I should be okay. Let me just check something here. So I'll check something. No, the audio is fine. I just want to make sure the audio was all right. Looked a little off. So yeah, challenge yourself and let me know. Hang on a sec. Got to get back to, there we go. Okay, so let's go over to the chat room and see what you guys are saying. I'll hang out for a little bit, and then I have to skedaddle. I'm heading over to Bruce's place later today to continue working on this very exciting film pitch that we're working on that I hope to have more information for you soon. It is very exciting, but we're doing that. But yeah, comment below and let me know your thoughts. What are your top 5? What are your favorite kills and kills? Is it beatboxing Cameron? Oh, man. Oh, man. Okay, so some super chats did come in. Let me go back here and see if I can get these super chats. If I miss one, please let me know. But I'm going to start here. I think this was the first one that came in. Kevin Fishgall sends in $5 and says, Vanessa's death was better in the script, less comedic. Well, you know what? I think it's all, you see, I get what you're saying, Kevin. And again, I think this is an interpretation, right? You know, again, that's why, you know, it's a prime example of you can read everything on the page, but how it you know, how they execute it in the film and how it translates onto the screen can be two completely different things. And, you know, depending on the audience that you're seeing it with as well, right? You can be influenced by people around you. So when that scene happens, if, you know, 2/3 of the theater go, you know, it somehow now feels like it's funny. But if the whole theater doesn't budge at all, and that happens, and you hear people go, oh my God, right? That can suddenly make you feel like the moment is much more serious. Do you know what I mean? So, you know, you can be influenced by the people around you as well. I mean, it is a holy fuck moment. Whether you find it funny in like a, oh my God kind of way, or you find it like, oh shit kind of way. It is, yeah, it's oh shit, that sucks. But you know, she fucking let her husband die. So what the fuck? Let me see here. Will Oxley sends in $4.99, says this movie's kills were truly brutal. I agree with that. I never have a problem with gore in movies, but the elderly couple truly had me sick, made me scared of Michael. Yeah, it was just everything that it involved. You know, it was everything that was part of that was a very sort of, it was intense. You know, there's no doubt about it. It was intense. And that's why it's my number one, for the reasons that I explained. Now, and again, I'm looking at this from a franchise perspective, right? For what they're doing, what they've done here. You know what I mean? I mean, it is what it is. It would be silly for me to examine this movie because of everything that's in it in terms of the high body count, the blood and the gore and no theater of the mind really and all that. It'd be silly for me to examine this comparing it to the original film. I mean, it's harder to do. 18 is easier to do that with because 18 is more nuanced and more in line with that. This film is almost impossible to do that with. So you have to take it as its own thing. You know what I mean? I mean, it's it is what it is, right? So, and in terms of taking it as its own thing, they've done a hell of a job on that aspect of it for sure. Yeah. I mean, it's gory and it's fun to watch. Mr. Bibby, I don't have my glasses on. Mr. Bibby 86. I think that's $2 Thank you very much. Says Allison is going to be so traumatized and ends. Agree? You'd think. I don't know. You would think, yeah. I mean, if it was happening to me, holy shit. But we're jumping several years into the future as well. I think like 3 or 4 years. I believe actually it's to present day. I believe they're jumping from 2018 to 2022, if I'm not mistaken. So get ready for that. So there will be 4 years there where we're no doubt going to learn what sort of residual effects and psychological effects that these characters have had from Halloween Kills. There's no doubt that we're going to see that. Maybe Allison is in some sort of asylum. I don't know. I doubt it, but who knows? Chris Holt sends in $5. Thanks, buddy. Says, hey, will you give the poor gun girl a break? She went off to go get her line. She went off to go read her line. Oh, I see what you're saying. Maybe it was. She's like, what do I do? She's off in the corner. Let me see here. All right, that's what I'm doing. That's funny. That's cute. Thanks, Chris. Thanks for the super chat. Flick Symmetry, my man, Flick Symmetry. Love your avatar. You look huge. Arnold. I love it. It's great. I'll hire you as my bodyguard. The table stabbing. We get a glimpse of his process, which is very cool. Right. And thank you for mentioning that, buddy. And here's what I want to say about this too, because I've been, again, and this is where the lack of nuance comes in. And I'm not calling anybody out specifically. I'm just saying that this, I get it. I understand it. So you've heard me many times say that I don't think we should see Michael's process, right? But I've been very clear, at least I thought I have, on making the distinction that when I say that, I'm talking about his process when he's in a vulnerable position. Like, seeing Michael floating down the river in Halloween 5 is a little silly. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't need to see how he escaped. I didn't need to see how he escaped from the fire. And I didn't. I was the first to say, I don't need to see Michael Myers escape from the burning house. He just does, right? Because I was worried that they were going to he was going to crawl out or something to that degree, which is part of the reason why I'm very mixed and don't really like the ending of seeing him beat down. There's a dichotomy, right? Because you have to take it for what it is. Comparing it to the original intent and the original mythology, is pointless to do because that's not where we are. It's supposed to be where we are, but this movie's a little bit of a hybrid of both. So it's kind of like 18 was much better at that. This is kind of like, are we, aren't we? Are we, aren't we? Are we, aren't we? And seeing him beat down, I was like, like it's cool when you take it at face value, you know what I mean? And sort of the overall theme and everything, and it's shot, and lit and okay, great. But I really didn't like seeing him, like his hand shaking as he's reaching for the knife or whatever, because, it's just a little thing. But then I'm like, but this is not the kind of movie I'm watching. It's hard for people like me. You know what I'm saying? But that's what I mean when I don't think we should see I don't think we need to see his process, because I don't believe we should really ever see Michael vulnerable. Do you know what I mean? Or I think it's unnecessary to do so. He's the boogeyman. He just escaped the fire. However, it works in Halloween Kills because at no point in that moment is he vulnerable. He's in complete control. He was hiding in the gun cabinet. Fucking thing goes up. He comes out. He wrecks shit. At no point in time is he vulnerable. So it works. You're like, okay, it works, right? So that's what I mean by we don't need to see his process of how he comes out of a vulnerable situation, in my opinion. But again, you look at the end of Kills and, it works at a certain level because of the movie that they're doing. Okay. However, I do like seeing his process, not too much. Don't want to give it all away. Don't want to, show what's behind the curtain. You don't want to show what's in your bag of tricks, but seeing what he was doing there, he wasn't in a vulnerable position, right? He was totally in control, and the way it was shot was really cool, and it didn't overstay its welcome, and it was a really cool thing, to see that head tilt and that examination of the body after he stabs into the back, and he's kind of totally Michael's MO, 100%. So I'm with you. I'm with you there. I appreciate that. So I just wanted to clarify that it, when Dave says, I don't think we need to see Michael's process, I'm talking about when he's in a vulnerable position, which is again, why I'm kind of like about the ending and him being, having the shit kicked out of him, but I can kind of put this cap over here and then put this cap on and go, this is a lot of fun. This is really cool. You know what I mean? It's hard to do for people like me, but I can certainly do it. Let's see here. All right. Mark Williams sends in $9.99. Thank you, Mark. And says, I was able to stay away from all trailers. Walked into this movie without seeing or hearing anything. Came out really enjoying it. That opening pumpkin sequence with Carpenter's new music was fantastic. A lot of people are saying that, if you, that's a really interesting sociological test too, psychological too, that if you really do manage to not watch the trailers and you do manage to stay away from, from from most of the marketing material, how do you feel walking in? I watched all the trailers. I obviously, because I have this channel, I'm very in and neck deep into the whole thing. So I kind of know what to expect. And I read the script. But I tempered my expectations like crazy. And I went in just, and I actually enjoyed it. You saw my tweets on social media. I enjoyed it. I had fun watching the movie. That's what it was. It's not that I didn't recognize all the issues that that the film has in terms of, and I don't mean matter of opinion. I mean like, and again, I know that some people, I didn't have an issue with the pace. I didn't have an issue, but speaking as a filmmaker, most filmmakers that I know recognize the same things. So I think it does exist. It's just whether it bothers you or not is another thing. I don't think the issues that people have in terms of the structure and the pacing and the writing and all that kind of stuff, I don't think that just does not exist. I think it is there. It's just, it might not bother the average moviegoer because they don't care about that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? And maybe where your there's a tone issue, 1 minute it's campy, 1 minute it's serious. And 1 minute there's, it's asking us to think this way, but then it's asking us to forgive this or, whatever the case is. But I don't think it's a bad movie. I don't think it's a terrible movie at all. Come on, it's not Halloween 5 or Halloween Resurrection. Or Rob Zombie. I don't know. But I had fun watching the movie because I can put a different cap on, I can put a different cap on, and because I'm not sacrificing my Halloween purism by putting a different cap on, because I'm not under the impression that I'm not comparing it to that. Right? I'm not making those assumptions or those connections and trying to connect those dots. I'm purely watching it on a completely different level. So yeah, I mean, I agree. I had fun watching it the first time. Second time I watched it, I had to put a bit of a different hat on. And that's when I was like, oh, I don't know about this. But certainly, you know what? As time goes on, as the days turn into weeks and the weeks turn into months, I'm planning on watching it a fourth time, not in the theater, folks. I watched it once at an advanced screening, and then I've been able to watch it on Peacock because I was able to, VPN it. And I'll probably watch it a fourth time, maybe in a few weeks, just to kind of, or maybe in a week or so to kind of just, because I want to let things marinate, right? And I'll probably just be like, it is what it is. That's fun, but now I have to go, okay, it's this kind of thing, and they're doing this. I'm very curious to see how Ends is going to be now, because we know it's going to be a smaller, more contained film. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see. I don't know where they're going to go. I'm not too sure. Darren from the Slaughtered Lamb Movie Podcast says, is there a chance we'll see Hawkins, Laurie, and Allison as a family unit in Ends? I've heard people say that. And I think there is a possibility. Yes, I think you're going to see Hawkins and Laurie get together in the end. And that's sort of a moment, she lives happily ever after. Or maybe not. Maybe she dies. I don't know. I have no idea. I personally think Laurie and Michael should die together, but that's me. But I think that's possible, Darren. Yeah, I totally think it's possible. And I think Will Patton Hawkins, even though he doesn't have a lot of screen time in 18, and he doesn't have a lot of screen time in Kills, I think he's still one of the best actors in both those films. He's a terrific character actor. I believe he's that guy, and he's sort of that he grounds everything, right? Like even when he's saying a bit of the poetic language, he's believable in saying it, and not everybody is, So, yeah. Let's see. It's Complicated sends in $4.99, says, I think we can all agree that when Michael puts the mask back on just to take on the mob is very badass. For sure. Absolutely. When you look at it from a certain point of view, absolutely. It's like WWE wrestling, right? It's like entertainment. I get it. Totally. Yeah, totally. I can totally look at it through that lens and go, this is badass. And it was badass. For sure. It's fun. Yep. Totally agree. Totally agree with that. No doubt about it. Okay, did I get all the super chats? Let me see here. I believe I did. I think I did. Yeah, totally agree with that. Hang on. Where are you guys here? There you guys are. Tabitha Short. Hey, Tabitha says, what if Hawkins is Karen's dad? I know some people have thought that because of some of the language that was being spoken in the hospital there. I guess it's possible. But then I guess it's possible. I'm going to say no. I think if Karen had lived, and maybe she does live, you never know. I think she's dead. But let's hypothetically say she lived. Then I think that would be cool, because then, as Darren's saying, you can have more of a family unit. I guess that would make then... Well, no. Well, yeah, from a certain point of view, that would make Hawkins Allison's grandfather. Yeah, I guess you could still do it. I don't think they're going to do that, though. I don't think so. I'd be surprised. I think it's unnecessary, really. I do. I think it's unnecessary. I think he's just a guy that she liked, and she liked her, but it just didn't go anywhere, for whatever reason. Maybe she was just too neurotic, and she was too into her psychosis of the whole thing. I don't know. But then again, you would think that, or was this presented? I'm not sure if it was, but maybe Laurie didn't know about. No, I don't think it was, because Hawkins was telling Laurie. So Hawkins didn't even tell Laurie this. They've known each other for decades, but Hawkins didn't even tell Laurie about what happened that night. She's finding out for the first time in the hospital. So that's interesting. Yeah, Will Patton was one of my favorite characters in the movie because he was believable. There was nothing cheesy about any of his scenes. Like I said to you in my last video, or one of my last videos, I said one of the best hospital moments is between Hawkins and Laurie. It felt real. It wasn't overdone. It was great. I wish the whole hospital scene, I wish every hospital moment was like genuine like that. Like I felt like this wasn't a farce or stage play or something. Michael Strong sends in £5 and says, is it fair to say, Dave, Kills is your third favorite Halloween movie at the moment? Hawkins to kill Myers and Ends. My third favorite. Is it fair to say? No, I don't think that's fair to say at all. I don't know where you would get that impression. I would say that, I don't know, because look, there's two ways you have to rank it. For me, okay? As a Halloween purist, if I was to rank, as a Halloween purist, there is no franchise, right? It's just the one movie. Because there's arguments to be made that if you want to hold up which I do all the time, as you know, the original intent of the character and the story and the mythology and all that kind of stuff, well, there's only one movie that does that. That's Halloween. That's it. Because as you know, and for those of you that don't know, there was never supposed to be a sequel, right? He's gone at the end of the movie, not to set up a sequel, but to bring the message of the movie home. You can't kill the boogeyman. Laurie has an arc in that movie. I know some of you are like, Dave, we know this, but I'm getting new viewers all the time. Some people may not know this. Laurie's arc in that movie was she doesn't believe in the boogeyman. And then at the end of the movie, she says, it was the boogeyman. As a matter of fact, it was. Tommy was right? That was it. Carpenter didn't want to do another one. We know this. He was asked because it became the highest grossing independent horror movie of all time. We want to do a sequel. We want to capitalize on this, and we want to make it bloodier because of Friday the 13th and all this kind of stuff. You guys know this. And he didn't want to do it, but he wrote the story. Money. He wrote the story, and he doesn't like it. It totally went against everything. Look, does it work? Yes. Do I like Halloween 2? I do. It's still my favorite second in the franchise. I do, in the franchise. That's the important thing when you talk about it from a franchise, because they're two different things, right? I like Halloween 2. I still think it feels the most organic when you pick up immediately where the first one left off and you start going. It's still my favorite. Could nostalgia play into that? Sure. I'm 42 years old. Of course it probably does. But I would say that, there's two ways that I have to rank things, right? When I do a franchise ranking, I'm ranking based on, not based on what movies I think honor the original the best, and I put them in that order. None of them do. Halloween 2 doesn't. By the fact that Halloween 2 exists. Now, could you say Halloween 2, 1981, honors the original the most out of all the other sequels? Probably. There's probably an argument to be made there. But when you introduce the brother-sister arc, it's over. It's over. When you introduce motive, it's done. It's gone. It's over, right? I've said that. And if I haven't been clear, I'm being clear now. But I have always said that. So then you got to kind of have to put that over there and look at it as a franchise. Okay, now let's look at it as a franchise. How would I rank the franchise? Well, I'm not ranking it based on original intent and mythology. That's ridiculous because it doesn't work. So you have to rank it on entertainment value. You have to rank it on just as being a franchise. Does this make sense in terms of the franchise and all that kind of stuff? And Kills, I don't know where Kills falls yet. Kills has made me appreciate 18 more, I can tell you that. I think 18 is a better made movie, structurally, script-wise, pacing. I think it's a better made film. So if I was ranking this, in terms of the franchise, you go 1, obviously. 1's always going to be first. 2, and we're talking about Michael Myers films now. 1, 2... Yeah, so what's the criteria? What's the measuring stick that I'm ranking this in my head now? So the measuring stick, I guess, would be just entertainment. 1, 2, maybe 1, 2, 4, 18 kills, maybe. I'm not sure. Ask me again in a bit. I just need time for it to marinate a bit. It's a good question, though. It's a good question. I don't want you to think it's not a good question. It's a good question. I just always like to preface and make sure people, because again, some people might be under the impression that I just like people to know how I'm able to look, how I have to, as a purist, how I have to look at things. Not everybody is like me. There's some people that are like me, some people aren't, right? I can get enjoyment out of everything, but I have to have the proper mindset. It all depends on what we're measuring, right? What is the measuring stick, which is very, very, very important. Thanks, buddy. All right. Dennis Allergic 449 says, Dave, how do you feel about Michael sort of decorating his kills? And also, which sequel does a better job of taking place the same night, H2 or Kills? Halloween 2 does a better job. Halloween 2 from 1981 does a better job of feeling like it takes place the same night. Yeah, and that's just purely looking at both films. I think 2 does a better job. Not that Kills doesn't do a serviceable job, but I think Halloween 2 from 81 feels, it just continuity-wise, it feels more like the same night, even though it's 3 years later. How do I feel about him decorating his kills? I think it's great. I was actually very happy to see that in this movie because it makes sense to me. It makes total sense because that's what he does. He laid out Annie on the bed with Judith's tombstone. He pinned Bob to a wall. He put Bob in the fucking closet. He had, Linda in there as well. The thing, there she's like half her body or something. I mean, totally. He displays it. He's very much like Billy from Black Christmas. Billy from Black Christmas displayed his bodies. That's 4 years before Halloween. Just saying. Maybe a little inspiration there. Or maybe Billy is Michael Myers. No, we're not going to get into that. I could talk for hours about that. So I didn't mind that. I liked that. Yep. Didn't bother me in the slightest. It makes perfect sense. The one thing I will say, and I cannot say that I notice it myself as much as I would like to take credit for it. I can't. Shout out to Sean Clark from Horror's Hallowed Grounds. I was watching his video where he was doing the filming locations. And he had said, and he was showing us where Lindsay was chased. And if you've watched that video, then you probably know where I'm going with this. And I never thought about it, but I'm kind of like, it's kind of true. So Michael kills everybody in the SUV, then he chases Lindsay, and then he walks off across the bridge and he's gone. Now, when Tommy and Lonnie and Allison show up, the bodies that were in the SUV are already displayed on that wheel thing and in the swing set thing or whatever, right? But Lindsay is still hiding. And it's like, well, when did Michael come back to do that? Like when did he must have come back and then displayed the bodies and then took off again, all while Lindsay was still lying there. That's, it's not a big deal. It's not a big deal. And some of you right now are probably like, oh yeah, I didn't even realize that. Good. Who cares, right? Every movie has something like that, right? Where there's something where you're like, oh, that's kind of, but hey, it's Michael Myers. He just does. I don't know. He did. He came back. He did. He left. Dumpty-dumpty-dum. Dumpty-dumpty-dumpty-dum. But I kind of laughed because I was like, oh yeah, I never really thought about that. That's a good point. Anyway, it's not a big deal. It doesn't ruin the movie or the scene or anything like that. But I just thought it was a kind of a, just funny. I was like, oh yeah, that's kind of interesting, Anyway. Let's see here. Movie Chat and More sends in £5 and says, come on, Dave. This movie is crap. Pacing, editing, direction, kills, cinematography, acting, an absolute abomination. Hated it with a passion. Well, I'm glad you hated it with a passion. I cannot say that the cinematography is crap. I cannot say that the kills are crap. I cannot say that but I can say that the pacing and the editing are off. Absolutely, 100%. This film does have a pacing and editing issue, for sure. And the acting, not all the acting is bad, not at all. And I just went into reasons for that. But certainly there are some performances in the movie that feel like overselling. Some of the dialogue just doesn't match. I'm reminded of Harrison Ford's quote when talking about the script for A New Hope, when he's like, George, you can write this shit, but you can't say it, and not everybody is a thespian or a classically trained actor like Donald Pleasance. And, even Donald Pleasance, and this is on record, even Donald Pleasance said to Carpenter about all that, 6-year-old child, blank, pale, emotionless face, the black, all that shit. Pleasance is on, record having said, what is that? Like, how am I? Oh, okay, I don't understand this. I don't know what this is. People don't really talk but because he's classically trained and he understands nuance and to take a moment to breathe and all that, he makes it seem like like it feels real. It feels like nobody, even I met this 6-year-old child with this blank, pale it's totally a monologue. But it doesn't feel like it in some ways because of the way he delivers it. He was a pro, man. He was a pro. You can't give those lines to everybody. Because not everybody can make it believable, and there was just certain lines in this movie, mostly at the hospital, mostly through exposition, that just felt like way overselling, really a little bit of cringe. I didn't believe the performances. That's all. But I can't say that I hated the movie the way you did. If you hated the movie, well, that's great. But I cannot say that I feel the same way, because I do think there are some good things in this film. And I think the cinematography, I don't understand why you would think that. I think some of the highlights of this film actually are probably the way it was shot. But that's me. But that doesn't mean that I like everything. I've been very, very honest about what I think works and what I think doesn't, Flick Symmetry follows up, $4.99. Thanks, man. Says, I believe you had Barker dying in your fictional treatment. You were close. We witnessed his career die that night. That's true. That is true. Yes, I did have Barker die in my sequel concept idea video. And for those of you that don't know, there is a sequel concept I have on my channel. I did this long before Kills was even a thing, maybe a couple of months before they announced it. It's my version of a sequel to Halloween 18 called The Shape. It's not a fan film. It's just me sitting here walking you through. It's like 2 hours long, and I walk you through my idea, and I'm typical Dave McRae. I'm animated and I'm into it, and I got music and shit and all that kind of stuff, and it's a lot of fun. So check it out if you haven't. It's the Halloween sequel concept idea video on my channel. But yeah, I do have Barker dying, and I have Barker dying in an epic way. Like, he's in the woods that's just off from Laurie's house, and it's raining and there's lightning and stuff, and you can see the shape kind of, amongst the trees and in the lightning, and then he stabs Barker in the back and he lifts him up as the rain's falling down, and you only see this happen in the illumination of the lightning. Oh yeah. Telling you, man. Telling you, Blumhouse. I'm open. Yeah. Can you imagine? Let's see here. We got more coming in. You guys are awesome. Hang on one sec. I thought that said Bill Murray for a minute. Billy Mowry sends in $5. Has been watching your videos for a number of years now. Very cool. Thank you. Thanks for making my daily drive to work entertaining. My first ever super chat goes to you, sir. Thank you so much, Billy. That is so cool. It is always cool because, when you do these shows, you obviously, and when you do pre-recorded stuff and you upload them, you generally speaking see the same people, whether it's in the comment section or in the chat room. So it's always cool to see a new face and say, hey, I've been watching you from afar, long time listener, first time caller kind of deal, right? And that's always cool. So I really appreciate that. Thanks, man. I'm glad I can make your long drive to work, or your daily drive to work, I should say, entertaining. That's awesome. Dean Thomas sends in $10, says, sorry if this was covered. I'm late to the live stream. No issues, or no worries, I should say. Do you think there's anything to Karen seeing Michael as a child in the window before she goes up there to be killed? Thanks, Dave. I think there is I don't know, because it's very difficult because of the tone issues that I have with the movie. It's very difficult to know for certain what the filmmakers were going for here. We could find out that when Halloween Ends begins, we can find out that scene with Karen's death played out exactly as we saw it. That she just saw, for whatever reason, she thought she saw an image of Michael in the window, and she went up there, and Michael was literally there, and he killed her, and she's dead. It could play out at face value. Or there could be a little bit of cinematic language happening here. And there's a lot of symbolism. And maybe Karen wasn't really there. Or, maybe she didn't actually see him. I don't know what they're going for there. It's very hard for me to put my finger on sort of what they were trying to communicate. Like, I have ideas, but I'm not sure it's not clear to me. And maybe it's not supposed to be clear. Maybe it's not supposed to be clear. Do I think she's really dead? I do, because I think it helps to set up that emotional weight that you need going into the next film. You know what I mean? It's like, oh my God, he just killed her daughter. Oh my God. Like, yes, I do think, from a writing standpoint, setting up the next chapter, ending on a dark note, see how regardless of what you think of Halloween Kills, it is the middle chapter. It's the second act of this 3-act play. And if you've been following me for any length of time, you know how much I loathe The Last Jedi and how much that structurally, that's just not the second act of a 3-act play. And this, regardless of how you feel about the movie overall at the end, it ends, no pun intended, on a very dark note. And that is how you end a second chapter, a second act. The first act is the introduction of everything. The second act is usually where the struggle is, and it doesn't go well for our protagonists. It just doesn't, and it ends on a dark note. And then the third act is the redemption, right? This is just classic storytelling. When you are structuring a trilogy that is one story, right? And then if you have a trilogy that is one story, because not all trilogies are one story, like Indiana Jones, there are 3 different ones. When you have a trilogy that is one story, your first film becomes they become acts, right? So, and there should be first, second, and third acts even within, the individual films. But in the overall arcing story, each film is its own act. And it's kind of hard to know what they were going for. It feels like there's some cinematic language. I mean, clearly there is, because Michael is not 6 years old. And obviously there's a lot of, there's symbolism there, right? And what that means specifically, it is alluded to from Hawkins, but I don't know. It's hard to say because I just don't think it was communicated as effectively as it could have been. So I'm kind of on the fence with that. I'm not quite sure how I feel about that, which is why in my past videos, it falls into my mixed category. The ending still I feel mixed on, because I can't, as somebody who really likes, learning and talking about and even creating films and using symbolism and cinematic language and all that, I can't put my finger on this, and it's frustrating. I'm like, what are they doing here? So I have to think about it more. So it's in my mixed category. Hopefully that makes sense. Keldon sends in $5, says Michael has become more durable as he kills. In 78, he was unkillable after he had killed, and it has increased. In HNs, his fingers will grow back. Can you imagine? Oh my God. Can you imagine if his fingers grew back? Oh my God. That'd be... Yeah, that's definitely not something I hope happens. I don't think we need his fingers growing back. Let me see here. What else we got? We got Where Nomad Has Gone Before sends in $5, says, hey Dave, great show, my friend. I think the jack-o'-lanterns in the opening represents all the Myers verses. I heard that. I didn't count them, but somebody said that there were 12 pumpkins. Now, if there are 12, we can assume that, but let's not necessarily think that is the reason why. You talk to David Gordon Green and he might just be like, oh no, it just happened to be 12. You know what I mean? That's just a happy accident. We didn't do 12 because of the 12 films. We just did 12 because that just worked with what we were doing. So that's entirely possible, unless it's out there from an official source, from the horse's mouth, that is what they're doing. But until it is, it's just purely speculation. And fans like to do that. Fans like to connect dots wherever they can. And most of the time, and I say this with all due respect, most of the time fans will connect dots to things that just aren't there, because it helps them make sense of things, or it helps continue to fuel their fandom and things like that. And it's cool, but it's not necessarily the truth. So I don't know. I'm not sure. But somebody had mentioned that. So that's cool. Oh yeah. Mr. Bibby86 says, sequel concept for ends, please, Dave. No, guys, as much as it's fun to do, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work to do that. And I don't have an interest in doing that, because people have to remember that my sequel concept idea video was not a sequel concept for Halloween Kills, because Halloween Kills hadn't even been announced yet. There wasn't even an announcement they were doing a sequel when I did that video. So now I might have posted it shortly after maybe they announced it. I can't remember, but my sequel concept, that's why it's called The Shape and it's not called Halloween Kills. It has nothing to do with Halloween Kills. So any parallels, any coincidences between what is in Kills and what's in my concept is purely coincidence. Some people have been like, oh, maybe they took your idea or whatever. It's like, no, it's just a coincidence. It's just a coincidence. When you understand the story and you understand kind of where they could go, there's bound to be parallels, right? Because we're thinking alike, right? So I have no interest in doing a sequel concept for Ends because my sequel concept did end the series. It ended it. That's how I think it should have ended. I mean, maybe I would change some things if I was actually to do that film. But certainly the direction of where I was going and ending it on more of a philosophical note, rather than like a jump scare, letting you know he's still out there. God, I hope they don't do that. They probably will. So I kind of already done it. I've already given my sequel and my ending. So I appreciate it, but yeah, I just have no interest in doing that. Jonathan Grant sends in £5, says, hi, Dave. Would have been cool to see Lindsay watching Michael displaying the bodies. We could have seen something we've never seen before. Interesting. Yeah, that's interesting. How do I feel about that? Seeing him display the bodies. That's a good, you know what? That's the kind of thing that as a director, I would have said, you know what? Let's shoot that if we have time. If we have time, let's write it in. And if we have time, let's shoot it. And then we'll make up our minds in the editing room. And sometimes that happens too. Oh yeah, it happens. If there's time. Right? I mean, when you're working on a multi-million-dollar budget or on a film with a multi-million-dollar budget, time is money. You have a certain, because sometimes there's not the time and you just can't. But if there is time and the crew is okay with doing it, it's not eating into their lunch or their dinner or whatever. And they're like, yeah, let's shoot it. Let's do it. Sometimes sometimes they do that. I don't know. That's a good question. I'll have to think on that, man. I'll have to think on that. That's interesting. I'll definitely have to think on that one. That's interesting for sure. For sure. Aaron Click says they weren't that much alike anyways, Dave's idea and Kills. No, very different. Very, very, very different. Very different. There's similarities, but very different. I've actually had a few people reach out to me, since Kills was released, saying how much they like my concept better. And I was like, oh, thanks. I appreciate that. Robert Thidoff says, Dave, I think we know now why Hawkins never went up the ladder in the law enforcement ranks. Yeah, that could be true. That could be true. By far the worst shot I've ever seen with a gun in both 18 and Kills. He never connected once. That's true. Yeah, maybe that's the reason. Maybe that's the reason. But Barker, and I say this about the character, not about Omar Dorsey. I think that's his name. I've seen him in a few other things. He's a good actor. I have no issues there. But his character, Barker, is a useless stooge. He's absolutely useless. He was useless in H-18. He's useless in Kills. And maybe that's what they're going for. But man, his character could just be, get his character out of there. Just useless. I just don't think, it's just so silly, I don't know. How did he become sheriff? That's me. That's me. All right, I think I've got everything. Do I have everything? I think I got all the super chats. Folks, that is going to do it for me. I'm cutting it a little short. Usually I like to go for about 90 minutes, but I'm cutting it a little short today because I do have some things I need to do, some voiceover work I have to attend to, and then, of course, I have to head over to Bruce's place as well. But I want to thank my great moderators, Frank Riker, Tab of the Short, Darren Sands, Chris Baber, for doing what you guys do. You guys are amazing. Thank you to the super chat questions that came in and to the few non-ones that I was able to answer there. Of course, it's busy, and I I haven't been able to get to some non-ones like how I usually do. My apologies, but don't worry. There will be other opportunities for you guys and gals as well. Hey, if you're watching after the fact or you're watching live and you're going to go to the comment section after, comment below. Let me know your 5 top favorite kills. I know there's more than 5, but let's see if we can kind of narrow it down to 5, and challenge yourself. What are your top 5 favorite kills in Halloween Kills? Comment below and let me know your thoughts. I would love to know. Have a great rest of your Tuesday. Stay safe out there and be nice to each other. You guys and gals are amazing. I will talk to you soon. Top 5. What are your favorite kills? Is it Cameron's beatbox moment? For those of you that didn't tune in earlier and are tuning in late, you're like, what the fuck is he talking about? You got to watch the beginning of the show. All right, folks, I'll talk to you soon. Cheers.